welcome back. I'm going to talk about the application process to be an English teacher in Korea, and I'm also just going to talk about my personal experiences doing this. So if you don't want to watch a long-winded video that will probably go over 5 minutes, then move on to another one. But I do have some stuff I want to talk about and possibly help you if you're thinking about taking the same path that I did. Okay, the application process. You're going to need quite a few documents to be able to apply to be a teacher in Korea. And the first thing that you need is your college degree. Okay, you have to have a 4-year college degree. They're looking for a degree, bachelor's degree in anything. You don't have to be an English major, or you don't have to be a teacher. They just want to make sure that you're a college graduate. And I don't think that they're accepting 2-year colleges or any of these online universities at this point, at least. Hopefully you have that. If you don't have your college degree, then go on the internet, find the website for your college, find the right department, give them a call, and order one. I think at my university it costs $45. Luckily I still had mine, but that's an expense you might have to pay, is to get your college degree. Also, while you're at it, you need some transcripts from your college. Okay, you might be asked to provide 2 transcripts. My advice, get 4 of them. They're pretty cheap. My college, it was $3 or $4 per transcript. They come in a sealed envelope, and in Korea, or your recruiter, they want a sealed transcript. So I say spend 20 bucks and get 4 of them. You'll need them down the road. Alright, you'll also need about 4 passport-sized photos. And if you go to like Walgreens or Eckert's or any of these, or even a photo store, I think they charge around $15 to sit in a booth, and they take a passport and they take a picture, they cut it, and it's like a passport-sized photo. I really did it myself with this digital camera I'm using right now. Just you know, I put myself up against a white background, I had somebody take a picture of me, and I just cleaned it up on Photoshop and printed it out on photo paper and cut it. I think it's 2 by 2 square, and that was good enough. I mean, it looks exactly the same, so that's what I did. Resume. Prepare a resume and have that ready. Self-health form. That's pretty simple. You get a health form either from the school or your recruiter, and it's basically 5 questions. They ask you stuff like, do you have any diseases? Do you have any allergies? Do you have any pre-existing medical conditions that we need to know about? Have you been using drugs or alcohol? And it's pretty easy. You just fill that out and sign it. That just takes a minute. Alright, obviously you need a passport. If you don't have a current passport, I think it costs $80 to $100. You go to the post office to get the application. You got to get that done, and that takes at least a month, I think, to get that. Hopefully you have it. You need a copy of this part, just the front part. You have to have a copy of that ready to send in to the recruiter when that requirement comes. Placement agreement. Most recruiters have a placement agreement. You sign an agreement, and it's basically an understanding between you and the recruiter that it's their job to do the best of their ability in finding you a suitable position and answer your questions and help you in the best capacity that they can. So you have to sign that, send that back to them. You also need a background check, a criminal background check, and an apostille stamp from the state. I'm going to explain what that is in a separate video, because that is a pain in the butt to get. That might be the most annoying thing to get for all your requirements. But that's basically it. Those are pretty much the items that you need to apply to be a teacher in Korea. One thing about the cost of the application process, not to scare anybody away, but it could end up costing you anywhere from $300 to $500. The reason I'm saying this is obviously not to scare you off, but nobody told me that up front. And after it was all said and done, I might have spent at least that much money. Real quick, just to go down the list, your college degree, if you need to get a copy of that, that could cost you anywhere from $30 to $50. Your transcripts, figure another $10, $15, or $20 for that. Your passport photos, You do it yourself, or you pay $15 at a store to do that. Your resume, your health form, your placement agreement, that doesn't cost you anything. If you need to get a passport, that's a lot of time to do that application, and it's at least $80. And I did that like 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe it's $100 now. I don't know. Your background check and your apostille stamp from the state, be prepared to spend anywhere between $35, $40, all the way up to, who knows, $75, $80, depending on how much your state charges. I know New Jersey charged $55 for a background check, and plus they require fingerprints, so you have to go there in person. And I did it in Florida. It was only $25, and you just mail them the application. It was real easy in Florida, so the cost is different depending on what state you live in. And also, your time is money, so if you have to travel, that's going to cost you too. The other thing is, I'll talk about this in more detail in the other videos, but you have to visit the Korean consulate, the closest one to you. If you live in the United States, I think there's only like 6 or 7 or 8 of them in some major cities. I was in Florida, and there isn't one in Florida, and I had to travel to Atlanta. So you figure whatever it costs you to take a plane or to travel by car, if you have to stay overnight, whatever the expense is to go to the Korean consulate, you're going to have to do that because they have to meet you in person before they give you the visa to come over. So just consider, you don't need the money all at once. Also, I forgot to mention, shipping. You're going to spend at least $50 on shipping items back and forth from Korea or in the United States, so be prepared for that. Real quick, I'm just going to address that question of whether you do this on your own or whether you get a recruiter. If this is your first time, I say get a recruiter. Okay, the recruiter is getting paid by the school to find an English teacher, but at the same time, they are there to help you basically help you get what you want. So you can make requests as to what type of job and where you want to work. They will do their best to facilitate that and bring both parties together. You could end up with a bad recruiter. You could end up in a bad school just because the recruiter wanted to fill that job position. These things could happen, and that is always the risk you take. But with my personal experience, I got passed around from a couple different recruiting agencies and a couple people working there, only because that was my fault. I decided in July of 2009 that I wanted to do this, and I wasn't ready to go really until February of 2010. So a lot of time passed. A couple people weren't working at the same recruiting agency, but the third person to help me, she really was wonderful. And she would answer my emails. She would call me on the phone at night from Korea just to make sure that I had my paperwork together and to help me through the process. And I developed a good working relationship with my recruiter. So I really felt that she was doing her best to find me a good job. I would say go to a recruiter. You're probably better off than doing it on your own. Of course, you could go on the internet and look for job postings and try to apply on your own, but you know, you're dealing with probably a Korean whose English isn't perfect. There might be a lot of things that are lost in the translation. So I say use a middleman. It doesn't cost you any more. The school pays the recruiter. So best of luck.